Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. In this video I'm going to be talking about the new remaster of a game called Star Wars Bounty Hunter. The remaster for this game was released on Steam on July 31st, 2024. Its regular price is $25.99 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and is developed and published by Aspyr. Like I said, this is a remaster of a 2002 game. The original was developed and published by LucasArts for the GameCube and PS2, but Aspyr handled the remaster of this game and released it on Switch, PS4, PS5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. They, Aspyr, have done several remasters, even just this year alone. They were the ones behind the very good Tomb Raider Trilogy remaster, but they were also the ones behind the Star Wars Battlefront Collection remaster, which was absolutely dreadful, and I think is still quite bad to this day. So when I saw another Star Wars remaster in the same year, again published or, developed, remastered by Aspyr, I was very interested in having a look at it. I definitely had reservations about it because I did take a look at the Battlefront game and it was just dreadful. So I've played just under an hour of the game. All the gameplay footage you're seeing in the background right now is from the first hour of the game, so no late game spoilers in this video. But of course this is a 22-year-old game, so probably wouldn't worry too much about spoilers anyway. But anyway, just from the very start of the game, pretty much, all the footage is from the first two missions of the game. And I guess my general overall thoughts and why I didn't play more than an hour is that this game, this remaster, this version, is probably ideal if you played the original on PS2 or GameCube back when it first came out, and you have nostalgia for this game, and you want to replay that game that you played in your childhood, but with better graphics and better controls. If you played the original, this game's probably ideal for you, especially at $26. Not too bad, honestly. If you didn't play the original, like me, I did not play the original, this is just kind of a bit of a janky, okay Star Wars game. And, I only needed to play for about an hour to realize that I wasn't going to get anything extra out of playing any longer, so I thought I would just wrap up the footage and just give my thoughts on the game. The game is set between Star Wars Episode 1 and Episode 2, and it features, you play as Jango Fett, who you will recognize from Attack of the Clones if you've watched the Star Wars movies. Most people have, I think. It opens with a cutscene of Darth Tyrannus, Count Dooku, on his spaceship. He gets a call, a hologram call or whatever, from Darth Sidious, Palpatine, and they talk a little bit, and then we go to where Jango is. There's like a dogfighting ring that's going on, and basically Jango's there to hunt down his target. His target is cheating in the dogfighting ring, so Jango just has to chase the target around for ages. So it's a bit of a lengthy intro, but you do get into it. You get a tutorial. It's one of the most boring tutorials I've ever done. It launches right into a combat tutorial, which sounds kind of interesting, but if you're watching it right now, you can see there was just no strategy or anything to the combat here. You then learn some of the platforming things. It controls decently well. There's an option in the options to toggle between legacy control mode and modern control mode. I didn't even bother with the legacy control mode because obviously the modern one is just going to feel so much better to control, and it feels decent to control. It's a little bit clunky sometimes, but obviously it is just a remaster of a 22-year-old game. So there's only so much they can do with the controls. I think they've done decently with the controls. It doesn't feel too bad to control. It's just the camera is a little bit janky. It kind of flip-flops around quite a bit. You'll probably see throughout this video. You're surprisingly mobile. You're able to dodge roll. You're able to lock on to your enemies as you shoot them. You hold down the right trigger just to constantly shoot enemies. A quick mention on the controls, I guess. Originally I saw this was a shooter, so I thought this would be better with mouse and keyboard. But I think even on the Steam store page it says like the developers recommend playing this with a controller. The original was for a controller-based console. And yeah, controller works totally fine on this, even though it is a shooter. Pretty much just because you can lock onto your enemies. As I was saying, you can dodge, you can jump, you do this crazy forward flip. I think you do a slightly different jump if you're locked onto an enemy versus if you're not locked onto an enemy. You can jump up and grab onto ledges, just specific ledges. You can inch your way along them. You can jump between ledges, stuff like that. You know, pretty good platforming stuff. But then you very quickly get onto what is still, I thought, was quite a unique mechanic. I was actually quite impressed when I got to it in this game, even though this is a 22-year-old game. It's that there's going to be a bunch of NPCs, whether friendly or hostile, in the levels, and you can basically equip a scanner and scan every NPC you come across, and some of them will be secondary bounty targets. So in the first level, there's 5 of these secondary targets. In the second level, there's 10. And the game did not explain this very well, so I didn't figure this out until the second level. But basically what you can do is, if you're scanning every NPC you see, sometimes, most of them will say, like, there's no bounty on this person. But some of them will. And when you see someone with a bounty, you then press right trigger to mark them as a bounty target for yourself, as a secondary target. You then switch your equipped weapon from your blaster. You also get like poison darts, your pistol, flamethrower, missiles, but you change it to your bounty catching device. It's just like a whip that wraps them up, pretty much. And so you wrap up the target, you go up to them and you press X, I'm pretty sure it is, and then they disappear, and bam, you've managed to get a secondary target. And I just thought that was such a cool mechanic. Like, you can absolutely go through the whole game without having to do any of these secondary targets. You can just shoot anyone you want. For the secondary targets, you can bring them all in alive or dead, which is very cool, so you can still mark a target, but then you can just blast them and kill them. I think it's a very cool system. It just didn't work all that well, I'd say. The first secondary target I found in the second level was just a neutral droid. He wasn't trying to attack me or run away or anything, so he was really easy to capture. But the second one was a hostile enemy, and so I just kept leaving him alive. Because I can shoot from a pretty far distance, but I didn't want to shoot him because I wanted to take him alive, because you get more points or whatever. I don't know why I really cared. But this guy should have been a bounty hunter himself, because my god, he managed to evade me for the entire level. I'm sure at some points he was teleporting, because I just could not catch up to him no matter what. And eventually he just completely disappeared, so I didn't get to capture him dead or alive when I did have the opportunity to just shoot him at the start, and I probably should have done that. So it's a very clever system, but I don't think it's implemented amazingly. It was in the second level that I also found myself getting a little bit lost. It's a 22-year-old game. There's no quest markers or anything. There's hardly anything in the way of a HUD. And so I got lost a little bit near the start of the second level. I was just kind of struggling to find where I needed to go. It didn't help that enemies actually just respawn pretty much continuously throughout the level. So even if I found somewhere I thought was new, just because it had enemies, it could have been a previous part of the level that I'd found. And then later in the level, you unlock a jetpack, which lets you start traversing the level a bit more vertically. And I must have been lost for like 15-20 minutes, honestly. I could not find my way out until I looked up a walkthrough and found out that I had to backtrack all the way to the very start of the level and go up a slightly different wall that I hadn't been able to without a jetpack. And that was enough for me. As soon as I finished the level, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't hold your hand like games from that era, and way before that didn't hold your hand. But yeah, it's just annoying to get like lost consistently. I think I got lost like 4 times in less than an hour. Graphics wise, it looks okay. I recorded a little bit of footage of the GameCube version, just emulated on my computer. So I'll put up a couple of side-by-sides of like the opening cutscene. The tutorial combat bit with where you're fighting the monster in the incredibly non-interactive combat tutorial. And honestly, I'm probably more impressed at how good the GameCube version looked than how this one looks. The GameCube one looks pretty good actually. After I played the GameCube part after I played the remaster. It looked pretty good. The controls were a little bit wonkier, but like not that much wonkier. The GameCube version was pretty playable, honestly, and yeah, it didn't look too bad. The cutscenes are definitely just AI upscaled. In the remaster, you can kind of see like a little bit of like the artifacting you see in AI upscale video if you look pretty closely, but especially if they're side by side, you can tell that it's just the original cutscenes, but upscaled. And then the actual gameplay, the graphics look good. They're very, very clean, very flat because they haven't really been retextured. They've just been cleaned up and upscaled pretty much. Speaking of it looking flat, the lighting or lack thereof definitely makes it look a lot flatter than it probably did originally. There's multiple instances where your character gives off a shadow, but nothing else around you gives off a shadow. So there's an instance where you're standing on a platform and you just look down on the ground below you, and there's just like your shadow just randomly floating there, and nothing below it at all. Display options, you're able to choose your video resolution, which is good. You're able to go between windowed mode and full screen mode. Windowed mode just makes it really, really tiny, and I think 4:3 aspect ratio, but there's no borderless windowed or anything like that. There's visual presets. I just left it on extreme because this is a remaster of a 22-year-old game. It literally cannot be that intensive whatsoever. The graphics options is entirely new. That obviously was not in the GameCube and PS2 version. You've got the option to enable or disable dynamic lighting. I don't know if playing around with that would make the weird shadow issues any better. Not sure. Thank God there's the option to turn off motion blur. By default, it's on extreme, which I'd never, ever want to have. You can change ambient occlusion settings, anti-aliasing, and you also have the option of lowering bloom from extreme to off. I hate bloom, I hate depth of field, I hate chromatic aberration. I always try and turn off a bunch of settings if I can, so the fact that the two settings I really don't like having on, I was able to turn off completely. Very good. So there you go, I think that'll do it for my video on Star Wars Bounty Hunter. It's okay, you know, it's hard to get super excited about a 22-year-old game that I did not play the original for. If you take a look at the Steam forums, pretty much all the positive reviews are like, I played this to 100% when I was a kid. So, you know, they're probably the target audience, honestly. You know, people who played the original and liked it will very much enjoy this remaster. They'll be able to look past the jankiness because it'll pretty much play exactly how they remember it as a kid. But yeah, I'm not gonna play any more of it. This was plenty for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!